I feel like often when you have anime that have like content warnings about how there's gonna be a lot of blood, a lot of like touchy subject matter, stuff that can actually traumatize people of either experiences that they've had themselves, happen to others, or just they have a weaker stomach than others. And it's always perfectly fine to have that, but often those content warnings, maybe it's just because I'm so desensitized to so much, like, I guess you could call it dark content. But I feel like often they don't live up to those content warnings, but something that Blade the Immortal has done a really good job at is living up to those warnings. Just the amount of imagery that is actually pretty disgusting, like after a female will be violated by countless men, beaten and bruised and raped. However, they actually will go into detail showing the damage done to her body and the liquids coming out of her. Like, you don't see that with anime. You really, really don't. And I think they're living up to that content warning without towing the line of being edgy for the sake of being edgy. No, it's like, this is a brutal samurai time period, and if you're going to say bad things are happening to these characters, make sure the visual presentation actually shows the damage that's being done, and they're doing a great job at that. This episode was incredible, I have to say. Last week I thought was amazing, and I saw a lot of people agreeing with me who were actually pretty harsh on this series up to probably last week. They were saying like it felt a lot more focused, a lot of different reviewers and things like that. And I was glad to see that because I thought it definitely was a lot more focused, a lot more structured. And it felt like an episode Rin needed to really showcase why she is such a great character and so important for the story. With this episode though, we don't really focus too much on Manji or Rin. Yes, we do get a little bit of glimpses of Rin seeing that she's definitely struggling, having to catch some shrimp and obviously not eating too well, with Manji obviously wanting to find Rin, but at the same time, unless he can get through that gate, he's not going to do too well. But I wasn't expecting the Taito and Manji kind of relationship to be formed where they might actually be partners for either a short while or maybe for the long term. And I think that was actually really clever and a nice way to just tie in a fan favorite character at this point, because I think a lot of people can agree Taito is an amazing addition to the story. Start off on one end and you're like, you know what, I kind of feel like I want to see him a part of the main crew as much as I do Manji or Rin, which is saying a hell of a lot. And I'm really glad to see that they're getting a reluctant partnership of how, he could easily get a gate pass to get through, but it's more entertaining to make him work for it. I'm just like, oh man, that's going to provide for some amazing content. But as fun as that stuff was, that wasn't even really the main focus. It was actually focusing on Hyakurin and just her group and things like that. And I think they finally and really lived up to the whole idea of don't marry a samurai. We had that conversation with the Rin, and I think you can piece together why you wouldn't want to, but I wasn't expecting to see how brutal it was, where you can have a samurai husband who is so disappointed in their son being like, oh, I don't like your looks, you're either too feminine or you're not living up to the masculinity that I want you to have, and just killing him and saying, give me a new son. Having to kill your husband because of what happened and then being labeled a traitor, and if it wasn't for, people passing by, you would have been beheaded for getting revenge for your son, who did nothing wrong except couldn't swing a sword as well as his father wanted. Like, that was brutal, and I thought it was so crazy to watch the spiraling of this episode, where of course, did we really think the scumbag was going to be gone forever? Absolutely not. Did we expect him to play nice with everyone else? Absolutely not. This man was obviously going to come back. Manji, he might have got an arm off him, things like that, but that wasn't going to be enough. And to just see the moments and what this episode was building up towards, both with the death and then by the end of the episode with the apology, you could call it. We have a man who just really wanted to abandon this life. Abandon the life of being like, if we pay off our fines, that's it. We could actually live a normal life. It may take a couple of years, but it would be better than just this. Like, are we really so bound and bent on this honor killing, or can we do something different? And I thought it was interesting how this man just wanted a mother figure, and he's kind of lashed onto her as it because of her blonde hair, which is actually very rare, which is what his mother had, and how he tries to, say, let's start a household together. And maybe there was more romantic undertones there than just, replacing a mother, but at the end of the day, you felt like this man wanted out, and I thought, what, if there was any time to get out of this situation, this would be it. But of course, if that's popping up, there's going to be some betrayal, there's going to be someone trying to kill you, and absolutely there was, and it was quite sad and heroic to see how far he was willing to go, and he was actually doing a decent job. Of course, these weren't like the top soldiers, but I thought it was heroic and I thought it was very respectable how far he was willing to go, sacrificing his life to save the woman that he loved so much. And then by the end of the episode, she cuts off her hair to lay at his grave so he could at least take that to whatever his next life, his next adventure would be. Kind of doing this like honor of like, you couldn't tell me your true feelings alive, but just know here's the return. Make sure there is some form of afterlife. If there is something beyond what his death was, at least do that. And even if not, it would be salvation for herself, which she's definitely very broken at this point in time. But to just see where they took this scene and how much further they kept pushing it is why Blade of the Immortal lives up to that content warning. For as strong as this woman is, both mentally and with her skills, if you're going to attack people, if you're going to leave them alive, it's eventually going to bite you in the ass unless you can take them out before they take you out. And these are characters who are all killers, and even though you can definitely justify some of the actions, I mean, at the end of the day, this is the world of the samurai, right? There's going to be things that you're going to do that aren't righteous. Even if you're doing it for a righteous end goal, there's definitely going to be innocent bystanders in the way. And even the ones that aren't innocent, I mean, you got to make sure they're dead unless you want them to come back and to commit these atrocities. And to see the number of times she was brutally assaulted and violated and just, it was hell. I don't think I've recalled as much realistic bruising and just torture done in quite some time for a TV broadcast. Yes, airing online, but still, it's functioning as if it's a TV anime in a lot of ways. But I think it's because it's not airing on TV, that's why you get these a lot more mature themes and not as much, black bars and white bars and things like that, but actually showing just how far they're pushing it. And I really, really have to compliment how I don't feel like they're just trying to show you graphic imagery just to get a shock out of you. It's like, this is the world of samurai. If they're not going as far as the story and characters are saying they are, then it would be a failure. You have to use your medium to its full potential. And the colors to the bruising to just the sweat and the liquids, it's like, it feels disgusting to look at, but it's supposed to be a disgusting scene. You are watching countless men verbally and physically abuse her and how hard she's trying to stay conscious and be able to do what she can, waiting for her moment to grab her footwear, which has a knife in it, and just seeing it was insane. And I have to say, something I don't think I've ever said, but what I really like about the combat in Blade of the Immortal is how usually each character has their own fighting style, and for the most part, it's all swordplay. However, you have a man who is just a tank. He literally swings around these circular blades, and I think it's the most devastating and frightening weapon we've seen in this series. I feel like even a novice, someone who's never picked up a sword or any form of blade, you would want to go up against someone who has a more easy to predict weapon. Yes, you're not going to be able to predict a master swordsman. Absolutely not. However, if you were to ask the average Joe, do you want to fight a man with a blade that can be swung around and you can't predict its trajectory, or do you want to fight a man with a katana? Most people are going to say the sword, because it's more easy for your brain to logically come up with a path. You say, oh, he's going to slice like this or this. Obviously, you're not going to be able to. You're still going to die, but at least you can rationalize a way that you could survive. This man is swinging things around, latching it to your arms, your head, and just slicing and dicing, and you can't predict it. It's absolutely terrifying. That's how he turned a hopeless situation into one where he was a one-man army, and you believed he could do it because not only does he have the skills, he has the weapon that can just counter everything, and even if, his weapon failed, he probably was decent in hand-to-hand combat. I love how they can take such violence and turn it into, beautiful imagery in a lot of ways. You're mesmerized by the gore, and you forget you're watching anime, but being like, this is an elegant dance, and it couldn't happen in fiction. Yet it is fiction, right? It's just how I personally feel about it, and it just gets a grin out of my face. And I'm like, it's so cool to see the different combat styles and how they blend combat into a narrative, because this man is hunting down for his comrade, and he's going to do everything in his power to do that, where you have these people trying to get revenge, trying to get information, and they're going to do whatever they need to this woman to get their end result. These two stories linking up isn't just cool looking action, it's a narrative being told, and that's the difference between an anime that has flashy animation and saying, oh, look at how much we're moving around, look at how cool our animation looks, but what's the story there? A lot of anime, they don't have that story, it's just two characters trying to kill one another, where with Blade of the Immortal, yes, does it move less than other anime? It has more of a story being told than a lot of those flashy anime. Not all, but a lot. And that's what I love, is how there was so much being told here and so much emotion. This was one of the most emotional episodes of Blade of the Immortal because of how tragic it was. And by the time you see what happened to her son, it's even more just of a gut punch. I thought she was going to kill herself. I thought she was going to run away at the end of the episode. but to see what she did with the grave, it was probably the perfect way to conclude this episode. And I expect a lot of people who loved last week will probably be enthusiastic with episode 10, because it feels like even though there was so much happening, and even though there was a lot adapted, probably a lot rearranged, it still felt structured. The most unstructured aspect to this episode was how it started to focus on Rin, and then it focused on Manji, and then it focused on her. It kind of bounced around a little bit in the beginning, but then it found its groove and really focused on one perspective, which was, and I honestly think the best way for the story to go going forward is, if it's in the intro and you're kind of getting different perspectives, it feels easy, but as long as you're not doing it in the middle and then kind of cutting back to your main focus, it works perfectly well. But the more structured of an episode, the more like, okay, honestly, the more tunnel visioned it is. Focusing in on one story at hand for a majority of an episode feels like the optimal way to make it so they can rearrange and cut chapters into a more fulfilling anime adventure. Because if this was cutting around with Manji and Rin and just more than it did in this episode, I think it would have been a jumbled mess, because we wouldn't have had the emotional impact that we did with this girl if we cut away even 2 more minutes of her content to give to like Manji and then get a bit more maybe next week. No, the more focused they are on one story, the more it flows in a beautiful way. At least that's how I'm personally feeling. And I thought this was a great episode. Honestly, close to being tied with last week for me. I still think last week was the best episode of Blade of the Immortal, just because it was such a curveball and you didn't expect such an interrogation scene to come across so beautifully. But still, this episode was for giving us characters who maybe a lot of people thought were kind of cool or a little interesting, probably weren't expecting this much emotion to come off of them, and we got it, and it felt so goddamn spectacular, and I'm still loving Blade of the Immortal. And I just hope it continues on this path, because it's currently going in an excellent direction, and I hope the first core wraps up with a bang. But what did you think? Did you think it came close to like last week's amazing episode, or did it kind of fall flat on its face for you? Whatever you're feeling, do let me know down in the comment section below. If you did enjoy, be sure to drop a like, and remember to hit that subscribe button if you have any news. Until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.